Welcome to Martechify, a community of marketing professionals interested in digital marketing, martech, and AI. I'm your host today, Ekaterina Konovalova, and I'm excited to welcome to this conversation an HP marketing leader, Jaynie Miller. Jaynie, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, Ekaterina.
Well, I'm excited to talk about your work at HP and the trends that we're seeing and some of the really interesting tech that HP is developing in partnership with other companies. But first, as always, let's talk about your career journey and what inspired you to pursue a career in marketing.
Okay, great. Well, I've been doing this for a very long time. I initially did not plan to pursue a role in tech marketing, so I'll come back to that. But in terms of getting into marketing, I was one of those people that changed my major in college, I think 2 or 3 different times. And ultimately landed in marketing partially because I was investigating advertising. I love to write. I'm very analytical, and I actually had advice from my father that who had experience in sales and marketing, and he was talking to me one afternoon, and he said, "You know, Jaynie, I think you should really think about pursuing marketing." So he kind of planted that seed, and I decided at that point to change my minor to marketing. I actually got my degree in journalism with an advertising focus and minored in marketing and found that I really liked the blend of analytical thinking and creativity that comes with being in marketing. So fast forward to, a few years, a little time down the road. And when I was first pursuing work, I had relocated across the country to Seattle, Washington from Texas. And I was looking at various opportunities, and I just got incredibly lucky. To be honest, it was at a time when Seattle was starting to boom. The tech market was starting to go through this major evolution, and I did it the old-fashioned way. I did what works, right? Networking. Rely on your network, meet people, and just go learn about what they're doing and start to look into different opportunities. And so I actually started as a contractor at Microsoft, and they were going through just massive, massive growth, had success coming off of the launch of Windows 95, and the company was doing phenomenally financially and growing like crazy, hiring a ton of young people who were newer in career to build out their workforce. And so I was very fortunate to get the opportunity to interview for a role, join a team in a smaller, kind of more incubation part of the business, which was the consumer software business. And I was very fortunate because being in a small team in a large company can be very ideal because you get the resources of a large organization, but also being in a small team, you get to wear a lot of hats and do a lot of different things. And so I started out doing marketing analysis, campaign analysis, and then very quickly moved into product marketing, messaging development, working with an outside partner that we were licensing characters from for children's software. And I was able to just grow my scope very, very quickly. Um, I got hired on maybe, I don't know, 9 months to a year later, I became a full-time employee. And I just continued to get these great opportunities, kind of honing my skills in product marketing, learning the market research side, doing some digital marketing. I mean, I really was like being in a small company, being very, very hands-on. And after about 5 years of doing that in different parts of the consumer business, I decided to investigate the retail channel side of the house. And part of the driver for that was where the bulk of the sales were coming from. And I thought I really should get to know this side of the business a bit more and go beyond product marketing into channel. And what I found through that is, first of all, it was retail and distribution, incredibly fast paced, high stakes, also going through a lot of evolution. That was really kind of the beginning of Amazon and the dot-com boom, and e-commerce, kind of seemingly came out of nowhere and became a huge deal, and so that was fun to be a part of. And I learned about working with partners and the incentives that they need and how to both sell to and sell through different types of channel partners to our end customers. And then I decided I was ready for the next challenge. And I won't go through my whole resume, but I will talk about just briefly. I decided to go back to school, get my MBA, which I did at the University of Washington in Seattle, through a weekend and evening program, and I continued to work at Microsoft. And that particular program was very focused on attracting attendees and a base of students who were based in the tech field and who were dealing with similar challenges from a business perspective. And so while it was a traditional master's in business, all of our case studies tended to be focused on tech companies. I still remember actually we did a case study, like Harvard Business Review case study analysis of HP. And they were talking about the printer business and, similar businesses where, like even commodity business like razors. You don't spend a lot of money on razors, but you spend a lot of money on razor blades, and that's where those companies make their money. And it was kind of similar at that time with HP. HP was largely a printer company that had purchased Compaq Computer as well, but they were selling a ton of printers to both home users and businesses, and did very, very well selling toner and ink and paper and all sorts of supplies. So um, I found that incredibly valuable, and even though there were concepts that I was already familiar with that from my time working, what I learned in that program was to develop frameworks, maybe hone on my analytical skills, looking at measurement of programs, and then also some of it was really just around developing the right language and terminology to communicate. And while I was never like really interested in being an accountant or a finance person, learning that side was really effective. And that still serves me today because when I talk to finance people, I know what they're talking about and they don't have to explain like the basic concepts because I learned them all many years ago. Anyway, moving on from there, I relocated to Texas in 2012 and started looking for other opportunities. I had relocated for personal reasons, and um, I got contacted very quickly. Again, being very fortunate, I got contacted very quickly about an opportunity with HP, and I had looked at other companies as well and decided to go with HP because it was an opportunity with a software product. It was under development for the very first time, and I knew HP had a lot of credibility as well as a reputation for being very innovative. And so I joined a small team, once again, large company, small team, where I got to build something from the ground up and bring the software marketing expertise that I had developed at Microsoft into HP. And so I think when I joined HP, I planned to stay for about 2 years. And now here I am 12 years later, and I'm still here because as the company has evolved, I've had changes in scope, different opportunities. The business that I was first working on was really, it was an incubation business, not the core driver of the company's success. And it's what I was working on when I first joined was the foundation for one of HP's top priorities now, which is our workforce experience platform. And so it went from being a little less visible to over time with a lot of evolution and investment becoming a core aspect of HP's growth strategy. So I've been able to evolve my career as the company strategy has grown.
What a beautiful story. And I love that segue from just learning about HP business model through Harvard business case study in an MBA program and to actually working there. What a beautiful story. And also, I think people would really appreciate who are listening to us right now more clarification or explanation of the product and offering that you're working on because so many big companies like HP, they have a lot of B2C, B2B businesses. Sometimes it's a service solution, sometimes it's a product. So can you explain a little bit more what you're working on and how it serves customers?
Sure, absolutely. So, my particular focus right now is in our collaboration solutions business. So, we know from research as well as just from our own reality how much business gets done through meetings, whether they're virtual or in person. And it's been a big focus area for HP for, I would say, about the last 5 years. And what I'm specifically focused on is how do software and services add value to video room equipment, meeting room equipment, headsets, video bars, all the different technology that people rely on. How do we utilize software and services to make those experiences better and increase customer retention and satisfaction? And so, what I'm as we talk about the workforce experience platform, kind of taking it back to that, the workforce experience platform is a multi vendor endpoint and experience management solution. It is used by IT, but it is used for the benefit of end users. Um, just in the last several years, we found that companies care so much more today about end user satisfaction or employee satisfaction with the technology they use to get their work done because when you're not satisfied, you're not productive. Worst case, you might leave and go find another job. And we have found that through our customer research and speaking with channel partners, IT teams are starting to be measured on employee or end user satisfaction. And so when it comes to software, I mentioned Workforce Experience Platform. There is a collaboration module, um, and it is sold separately or can even be used as a standalone solution. And it's all about monitoring the technology used to collaborate, whether it's you're using Zoom or Teams or um, HP hardware or one of our competitors' headsets or video bars. We're measuring all of the technology performance and then also tracking end user sentiment or satisfaction through the use of little pop-up surveys. So you might get a pop-up that has 3 questions. How satisfied are you with your collaboration technology? It's multiple choice, takes just a second. You respond. And then you might have one open-ended question and one other question. And that's it. And you hit submit and it goes to your IT team and they can go on there and see Ekaterina is very satisfied. Okay, great. Well, what about Jaynie? Jaynie's not very satisfied. Let's dig into that. And so it correlates the technology performance with the end user sentiment. So IT knows how to prioritize um, any technology fixes or kind of work streams that they're dealing with. And then from the services side, we can manage all of the equipment for our customers or allow them all to manage it themselves through the software. But there are customers who just don't want to deal with keeping up with meeting rooms. Like problems in meeting rooms are almost universal. And most IT teams have not been equipped with the right headcount to be able to stay on top of that. So you go into a meeting room, and you're supposed to be on a video call and you're with a group of people, you have a couple of people online, and you can't connect to them because somebody who was in the room before you changed a setting, unplugged something, had a problem, didn't report it, and now you're stuck and you're dealing with that frustration. When we do the monitoring and managing of that technology on behalf of our customers, we have our command centers working behind the scenes and proactively addressing the problems. And it doesn't have to wait until the end of the day until someone from IT walks in and finds out there's a problem. Because most people, most end users don't report technology issues. They just deal with it and they get annoyed, and then they might complain to their friends, but they never report it to IT. So it takes a little longer than it could to get it addressed. And so my role is all about understanding those pain points that our customers have, both on the IT side and the end user side, and look at the market, look at our competition, and determine what is the best way to reach these people. So, one, they have awareness of HP software and services, and two, that they understand the value and how we can help solve their problems or prevent any potential problems that they might be concerned about. It's a global role, so I work with marketers all around the world to influence their strategy and their end market execution.
Thank you for doing that, because you're right. It's a universal problem around the globe, and I'm so glad that you're addressing it. And since you touched on conferencing solutions, I want to ask you about the partnership with Google Beam. It's a new technology that was publicly released, I believe, last year in 2025. And it sounds like you got a taste of it and you tested it. So can you share more about what that is and what your experience has been with Google Beam technology?
Yes. So HP Dimension with Google Beam is our full product name. And what it is it's an enterprise level 3D video communication platform. What does that mean? It means if you were on HP Dimension with Google Beam right now, and I was on it, it would look exactly like you were sitting across the table from me. It is, it gives that perception that you're fully 3D, not just looking at a 2D image through a video conferencing solution. So there's a device with a built-in, we call it a grill that goes across the front. It's kind of rounded or curved in the shape, and it just looks like a large monitor with this curved again, we call it a grill across the front. But if both people are on a dimension with Google Beam, it literally looks like you are sitting with the same person. In fact, I was just at InfoComm, big event in Las Vegas, and I got a chance to be with a coworker who was testing it for the first time. And we had just sat and had lunch together across the table from each other. And then we went into that space, and it was like exactly the same experience. It's designed for small meeting rooms, more kind of intimate engagements. We have some, as you mentioned, we announced it about a year ago at InfoComm in 2025. And we went back just recently to give even more customers and partners the opportunity to try it out and to have conversation with some of our team members to think about how they might be able to incorporate it into their work, into their companies. And if you have a large group, you can still use it, but you'll get just your traditional 2-dimensional conferencing experience. But really the magic is the one-on-one, and you literally feel and look like you're in the same room.
That's fascinating, almost a sci-fi movie coming to life. Do you think the wide adoption will happen pretty soon? How's it trending? Who are the customers who are buying this tech? Because I assume it's quite pricey at this point.
In terms of adoption right now, we have some early adopter customers, and I would say I would expect this to follow the typical adoption curve that we see with technology solutions, where there are always some early adopters who are really excited and willing to try new technology. And it takes a little while to generate the momentum and the broader adoption with what we call our tech enthusiast audience. And so what happens typically, and probably most of your audience or maybe all of your audience knows this, so I don't mean to talk down to anybody, but is that costs are higher when the volumes are low because it costs more money to manufacture each unit. And then as the sales start to increase, the volumes of units that we're manufacturing get larger, the per unit cost goes down. And what that means is prices come down as well. And so what I would expect is, let's give it a year or two and see how that adoption scales. I feel based on the tremendous interest that we just had at the InfoComm event from both customers and partners that this adoption will be taking off very, very soon. We actually had to turn customers away because we had so much interest in trying the product and just not enough time across 3 days to let each person who wanted to try it out try it. And one thing that we're doing with Google to complement that is there's a roadshow. There's a bus that's been outfitted specially with Google Beam devices that is going around in major cities right now around the US where customers can go and try the technology for themselves. So, in addition to continuing to showcase it at events, this is another way to bring the technology to more customers to try.
It sounds so fun and cool. If we compare two of these products and services, the one that you're working on, and it's the way you described it, it's so important and so necessary. Of course, I would love more people to be aware of what you offer and how you can help with this mental anguish of a meeting room
Yes.
disaster. And then the second tech is obviously very useful and handy, but also really cool and innovative. So, can we look at these two offerings and compare them? What the audiences are? So, with your primary line of work, do you work with small businesses, mid-size, and large enterprises versus the Google Beam offering? I assume probably more mid-size to large corporations. Can we compare two offerings on the scale?
Yes, definitely. So looking at our collaboration software and services, we're primarily designing those for mid-size to enterprise customers, and they may buy direct from HP, or more likely they may be purchasing from one of our channel partners, and those are global offerings. There might be certain things that are tailored for a specific country, but in general, they're global offerings designed for mid-size and enterprise customers. And like if we were to look across industry verticals, for example, think about anywhere where people are using headsets or video bars or connecting. So it's very much a horizontal market from a marketing perspective and go to market perspective. When you look at HP Dimension, it is specifically focused on enterprise, and we have a lot of interest from different types of enterprise. Healthcare is one. There's definitely opportunities and interest in legal, financial, banking, manufacturing. I mean, it really just depends on the use case and how companies want to use the devices. Is everybody going to have a Google Beam or HP Dimension with Google Beam on their desk or even in their hallway? Probably not, at least not the way it's currently designed. But there are very specific use cases. A lot of executives want to use the solution. It could be very useful in an education environment where you're in a virtual learning situation and you want to have something more dynamic than just looking at your 2D screen in Zoom or Teams or Google Meet. So there are a lot of different applications, but very focused on enterprise
And
today.
one last clarifying question about the Google Beam technology. Is it expected that both parties will have the tech, so basically all the six cameras around them, or it's possible that I have my regular laptop and then the other person has the tech and at least one side sees the 3D volume and the other side sees more of a 2D image, or it has to be both ways?
You've got it exactly right. So as long as, say, I'm presenting to you and I'm sitting in front of HP Dimension with Google Beam, and you're on whatever camera you have built in or mounted on top of your monitor, you would have the 3D experience. I would see you in 2D just as I do right now.
I see. Yes, you're right. That would be really cool for education or other industries as well.
Definitely. And imagine as you have like executives at a company and they're speaking to um, the employees or small groups of employees, but they want to demonstrate something. They have they don't want to just sit in front of a chair and speak. They have something more dynamic and engaging to show. Product innovation where you want three-dimensional views would be incredibly valuable or dynamic, I would say, in this type of experience. And again, healthcare, education, there's so many applications for it.
Absolutely. So, as we begin talking about the future vision and the latest tech, let's talk about AI and how it's changing your role and the overall market. Of course, it's a big buzzword, but from your perspective and the evolution that you've seen in your career, what are your thoughts on how we're going to use AI, how it's changing the role of product management and product marketing?
Sure. What I have seen is that AI was almost used in kind of a gimmicky way, very tactical in the beginning. Help me rewrite this sentence or this paragraph or this document in a way that is applicable to this audience and this part of the world using insights that you find from combing these four key websites, for example. And that's great. There's still a lot of value in that. You get a great first draft. You can edit from there. You can interact with whatever AI tool that you're using. Um, but going beyond that, what I'm seeing more and more, and the way I think of AI is yes, it's a tool in the toolbox, but you can almost start to work with it like a person. It's also like a human, not perfect. And so you do have to kind of view it with a little bit of a skeptical mind. Sometimes you have to remind yourself, or I have to remind myself, AI is repeating back what it finds. Most likely, what it's found, regardless of where it's found it, was created by a human who is, we're all imperfect and there might be some inaccuracies. And so it's important to challenge the AI. And if you have doubt, say, I don't think, you can write back to Copilot or Chat GPT or Claude and say, I don't think this is right. Are you sure this is accurate? And what I have found is that I've actually never had AI come back and say, no, I'm correct. I was right the first time. I've always gotten a response that says, yes, you're right. I was inaccurate in this response, and this is how I should have done it differently. So it's just important to keep in mind that while you might be able to use AI like a person, people are imperfect, and so is AI. It at the same time, where I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I see the very short-term future going, is we build AI into our workflows in a more deliberate way and more consistent way, where we establish and document workflows and show this stage of the work is done interacting with AI. The next stage of work is maybe using a little bit of AI, and then maybe after that, it's 100% human, but really being more deliberate. Whereas right now, I feel like it's very experimental. And across the people I work with, I would say we all use it in different ways. That's great because we all learn from each other, but I think it will be a little more structured in the future.
Absolutely. And then going back to your point, how you noticed that it could be inaccurate, it
Mhm.
takes experience and knowledge and awareness that, well, something is off here. What about cases, especially younger people who are not as experienced as you are? They may not be able to spot inaccuracy. And then a second question would be why AI is spitting inaccurate answer right away instead of giving you more accurate answer in the beginning. So do you have any thoughts about how to navigate And you somewhat alluded to it, knowing that it's imperfect already, that you
Mhm.
should assume that it's not 100% accurate. But to those people who see the answer, it sounds very intelligent, and they may not have the knowledge or experience to understand that in these sections, something is off.
Right. The first thing that comes to mind to me is the importance of critical thinking and and viewing things with a critical mind. Don't accept the first thing you hear, right? Or read. And really take the time to think through what you're learning and kind of try to correlate that with maybe your own understanding. If you don't know, talk to a trusted colleague and ask them what they think. You could say, I'm not sure what I got from AI is accurate. Is this consistent with what you've seen? It's always beneficial because AI can do so much in so little time. And so that benefit doesn't go away. But I think if people, one, just go with the mindset that this may not be accurate and I need to think critically and think through what I'm reading and what the output is. And then two, like if they really don't know, ask a colleague. Beyond that, there is a tremendous amount of AI training available on the web. You can go, LinkedIn, I believe, has free AI foundations courses. They have specific training for marketers. A lot of the digital marketing companies offer free AI training, and it may be specific to their tools, but there are concepts that are applicable across other tools or concepts as well. And, looking at professional organizations like American Marketing Association, they offer trainings that sometimes are not very expensive and are very accessible for people to take. So supplement your knowledge and the information that you get from peers and colleagues with some of that training that it's everywhere, literally everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. And how do you see your role changed maybe in 2026? How maybe you freed up some time or you had to pivot and develop new skills. So, what do you see this year for you specifically in your workflow? Did you become more free to do something else? Or it sounds like the time that you saved here, then you have to spend it on validating AI answers somewhere else.
Well, hopefully there's not too much of that validation required, but it is good to allow a little time for that. Um, what I see for me personally is more of an opportunity spending less time on doing things that can be automated, um, running automated reports, using a research tool that is very AI leaning, um, creating first draft of content or messaging, doing analysis of competitive announcements or go to market plans using publicly available content. That type of work is important, but the process of getting developing the knowledge is less important. So using AI to do that type of work is valuable and something I expect to do more of. Beyond that, what it frees time for is more of the deep thinking work, more strategy, more planning, um, and to me, that's the higher value work that people will continue to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Janie.
Thank you. I really enjoyed speaking with you and appreciate the opportunity.